Gundam.tk presents Gundam Virsago. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, and my look at the high-grade 1100 Gundam Virsago is continuing. I've already shown you the unbox and all the parts, which are looking pretty good, but now it's time to put this whole thing together and see if this is going to be a pleasant addition to your shelf to go fight Garrett Ran. And just when you think you're going to see him on a turntable, you're not, because I've got to point this out, that back in the instruction manual, when you're putting the feet on, there's a pole here, and you can see that it's offset, and it looks like it's on the outside there, and you can see that this is for the right leg. Now, the only problem being is that as soon as I put this guy together, he failed the flat foot test with the legs just together, until what I did is I just popped these 2 feet off, reversed them in terms of left and right, and now he can actually stand properly, but otherwise, he was looking pretty terrible the moment he was put together. But now finally spinning into view, I have to say that he looks very much like a 1990s kind of bad guy, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. He looks the way he did in the anime, just with the proportions not exactly the way you'd expect them to be in the Master Grade. I'll start with the wings, which look very small there on the back. They don't go over the shoulders, which pretty much every other Gundam that has wings, they're designed to go up there so that you can see them from the front, and mostly they're just hidden by the arms. You could fiddle with the angles that they're at, but because they're just not that large to begin with, you're not going to have too many options. The legs are going to be very red, but the details in the waist and the chest are going to more than offset that. This gold sticking out on the forearms is certainly the best part of the bling, and you can see that the arms are folded up, ready to come out for a surprise, and I have to say that overall the seals don't take away too much. The head looks good, and the shoulders, he looks like a big, wide, strong bad guy. But where I can say he'll excel in is just in the fact that if you take a look at the legs, these old kits, they're pretty wobbly. They're not going to connect on very well there at the hips. You've got the knees that hardly bend. The ankles, like I said, you had to fix, at least so you can get them down flat here. But overall, he doesn't feel like a very solid model. And because I don't have him anything fancy in terms of posing, that's okay for now. But when you put everything out, how is that going to work? In terms of mobility, the front skirts are going to come up and allow him to kick forward at a 90-degree angle, but because they're just on the polycap sides there, you can just see that they're not going to go too much off to the side, so don't expect much splits whatsoever, and the skirts aren't going to help you there anyway. The knees, as mentioned, are going to bend over 90. They can go up like this in the back. The ankles are going to rock forward and back and off to the side about this much. Again, you just want to be careful which foot you put on which side there. Maybe you can see it that the peg is very much over to this side of the foot as opposed to this one. Upper body now, I'm still surprised that it can spin around considering that it's got a weapon in there. But for the arms, if you flip the wings back, you could turn the arms all the way around there. As mentioned, the shoulders are going to rotate here. The elbow's going to rotate and bend up awkwardly to give you about an 80-degree bend. But for these parts, they are going to bend out with no problems whatsoever. And the head is just going to be locked on a single peg there. So you can rotate it around and move it up and down. But outside of that polycap on the inside, no points of articulation. For height comparison, like with like first, high grade 1/100th. Here you've got the Serpent Custom from Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, the OVA. And you can see that this guy's going to be a little bit wider here in the shoulders, or so it seems, mostly just because of the weapons down there. But actually this guy, he is pretty tall at 18 meters. You can see that the head height is going to be taller than the Serpent. But his shoulders and the big bulk overall, he really does look like a 90s high grade, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because he does look intimidating enough to be a good bad guy. Oh, unlike, let's say, the 1/100th, not a high grade, actually kicked out of the grade even though it's in the same line, Zolidia here, piloted by Katajina Luz from Victory Gundam. And for a more modern comparison, you can imagine that if this was a Master Grade, he'd be a lot taller, lankier, and just sort of sleeker overall. Something more similar to this 00 Gundam 5 Sword over here. Now, you don't really expect this guy to get too armed up, considering his whole body is primarily a weapon, well, his chest anyway. And yeah, that's what you get for 90s ankles and legs. So to try that again, you can see that the legs, this is not something that you're asking too much in terms of posability. But anyway, back to the hand weapons. You've got one of these strike shooters in either arm. All you have to do is bend this gold part down to bring it forward. It looks pretty good because it's got those 3 nozzles, but you don't expect this guy to be much of a handgun shooter. So you know that the other weapons are going to be the ones that come to prominence much more often than not. It's worth noting too that there are these little pegs here, and you'd think that that would help keep things in the manipulators, but it doesn't. It hinders things more often than not. Pretty much I've just been putting the fingers below, but because these arms are actually, they can hold the grip pretty well, even though it doesn't have any peg attachments, it can still stay in place, no problem. And if you take the strike shooters out so that they're not in both hands, you can attach them together at the base and they work together. Here they look more like a weapon that's actually going to do some damage, especially if you put the claws down in addition. Here the beam saber's been detached. That part is going to fall off every once in a while. So you've got this, I don't know if that's in the right arm, but here with the 4 gold claws, that actually doesn't come across as looking all that bad, although it is unfortunate that I've got 3 different colors of gold there, with the paint, the stickers, then paint more over here, and then the gold mechie parts that they give you. But this guy can be a lot more fun when he's stretched out Monkey D. Luffy style. I actually had the whole shoulder fall off just when I tried to rotate it into place. The gray arm can come out and you can bend it at an interesting angle or just have it out, and there is somebody you don't want to meet in a lightsaber duel. Now with both arms stretched out, what I'm trying to show you here is that with this part, the way it comes around, you can keep the elbow up and actually rotate the shoulder in the socket, so you can have the shoulders right away as this arm comes out, or you can just rotate them all the way down around. This will probably get it to stretch out ever so slightly there. But here with the claws forward, you've got something impressive, because as he grabbed you, Destiny Gundam style, he could blow up your face with that claw, besides gouge your eyes out, and this weapon is going to look okay as well too. And with just the claws out, I'd actually say that with these arms extended, it looks very cartoony, very cheesy, but it's something quite unique in Gundam, well, outside of course of Gundam Wing, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's fun to use this in the game, and it's actually going to be fun to have this on the shelf out this way. To add the wings into the mix, you can actually bring them up so they become a little bit visible, bend them back, open them up, and do something like this, and then they should be visible from the front, no problem. And I'd say that that does change the way he'd come across. You can play with the angles a little bit, but it's just unfortunate that this isn't the chest break, because its spider arms on the back just seem to be a lot more fun. In terms of visuals, these wings look good, but don't expect anything awesome like, let's say, Death Scythe Hell. But similar to the X and the DX with its satellite and twin satellite cannons, you know that this guy's real threat is going to be right there in his belly. And with an extra few centimeters and the wings fully exposed, the arms out at a more cool angle there, and an extra few centimeters because of that cannon being out, this guy has really filled out in terms of size. As I'm hoping this revised height comparison shows you compared to the 1/100th Zolidia here. And the head height now is almost the same, depending on how you want to count the V-fins, as the 00 Gundam. And with the strike claws down and the strike shooter just hang under the hand, you actually get the effect of having 3 gold claws here. And that, I think, is a good place for me to wrap up my review of the mobile suit of this Gundam Virsago. He's actually a lot of fun despite a lot of problems. So anyway, I'll have a list of the good and bad things so that you can make a call as to the things that are important to you in the next part, my final part, the verdict. But anyway, thanks for watching this, checking this out, and stay tuned for the next and final part. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please comment. Always love to hear from you, and see you next time. Bye. If you want, you can call him Olba and him Ace.